Hello everyone. Today I will be doing Season 1, Episode 6, The Call. Dirk sat on his blue bed. He felt the cushions underneath him, making his body feel nice and comfortable. He knew that he had to make his choice for his people. Should he be a pacifist or a provoker? He knew that if he surrendered, his people might have a chance at not suffering consequences. But if he planned a war, they could suffer some major consequences if they fell. Dirk could see no way they could win. After all, their specialty was defense, not offense. They had a strong fleet, but they don't want to launch an attack against the forces in the Cayce Islands, because in turn it would alert the Dark Empire that they had an enemy, and it would alert them that they knew about the ambush. So, there were many questions that needed answers. His head hurt, and he didn't want to think about things right now. He just wanted to sleep and forget that he ever knew his home was going to be attacked. He just wanted things to be peaceful and quiet, like he liked it. But apparently it wasn't going to happen. He curled up into his sheets and attempted to sleep away his troubles. Dirk awoke during the middle of the night. The moonlight shone its light across the land. Torches and lanterns still lit up the palace and some buildings in Ra. Mostly it was quiet. Dirk had a strange feeling. It was like someone was pulling on his arm, but nobody was there. Still, he felt as if someone was trying to get his attention. He was confused by this. Maybe it was his conscience making him feel guilty. Oh well, he didn't want to have to deal with it. Shut up, Dirk muttered to himself, hoping that his consciousness got the message. After that, Dirk didn't work. He started hitting his head on the bed. Hitting his head with his hand. But all that achieved was a headache. He sighed. He put on his night robe and a shirt and wandered out into the gardens. It was a gorgeous night. Dirk had never told anyone except his mother, but he loved the way that the moonlight reflected off the ice and snow, making it appear to glow a little. He sighed, missing the years that his family was together and missing the time when he and his sister didn't have to lead, when they could just play and ignore the troubles and let all the troubles fall on the adults. He supposed it was one of the reasons that he and his sister argued, because it made them feel older, but in reality, being 17 still made you feel like a child. As he was ready to go back and try to sleep, some snow started to fall, and it floated off in the wind to the western forest. Dirk had the same feeling again, where he felt as if someone was trying to alert him to something. A strange feeling came over him. Perhaps he should follow the snow. I mean, it wasn't like he had anything else to do. Dirk was careful to sneak out without the guards noticing. The same snow was waiting for him when he came outside. It continued into the forest and waited for him to catch up. Dirk realized it was a mistake to follow it only in his robe. It was still cold even in summer. He ignored the cold and decided to continue on into the night. The snow bit at his feet and he continued on. He passed the chunks of ice. His slippers provided almost no protection from the snow. He stumbled through the dark, only guided by the moon. He coughed as the cold was eating him up. Suddenly it occurred to him that he could die in the cold. Sure, in the Frost Kingdom, people were used to cold weather and could deal with a lot before tiring, but they weren't immune to it. It could still hurt them if they were not careful. Where another person from another nation would freeze to death, a Frost Kingdom person would only be on the brink of death, and it might be able to make it out. Dirk didn't even know where he was going. He kept following the snow and eventually reached a cliff where he took a minute to rest. He took a minute to admire the scenery. That was stunning. He looked down at the frozen lakes and trees spurting from the ground. Far away, he could see the city of Moondrop. He decided to fall asleep, and the winter consumed him. Dia was in the kitchen at midnight. She was making a hot drink called lampa, made from moondrop pears. It was a sweet and hot drink. As she was going back up, she looked outside and thought she saw someone in the distant snow. She shook her head, and noticed the figure had disappeared. She opened Dirk's door to check up on him and noticed he was not in the bed. Where could he be? Perhaps using the restroom. She thought it wasn't really her business, but she just wanted to make sure he was okay after their argument. She went back to bed. Dirk had frozen in the winter snow. He found himself in a cave made of ice. He found that tree leaves had been covering him, acting as a blanket of sorts. He looked around and saw no one. He pulled himself up, but found little strength, and he collapsed again. He coughed a bit and shook off the bitter cold. He crawled around, looking helpless, which he was. He eventually wound up at the mouth of the cave, where he came to face to face with the massive gray wolf. And that is where we will be ending this week. Next week, we will be doing Season 1, Episode 7, The Great Mother. So I hope to see you then. Anyway, have a good week, everyone. And that's it from me. So goodbye.